I think we're all here. I'm doing it. Are we ready for fault lines?
Yeah.
Okay. Heather, am I to assume you're working along by the fact that I can see your kitchen?
Yep.
Yep.
I actually assembled everything.
Amazing. Cool. Well, just stop me if you want me to slow down or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go for it. Okay. All right. So I have my same two little chocolate cakes like I had the other day. These are Ina Parman premix, which I buy the mix in bulk, and it's very easy to mix. So when I have a class or something, I just do that because it's quicker. But you can do this with any cake. I am going to use a stencil with stencils in my fault line. So I've got, if you can see, there's some stencils that a friend of mine cut for me. So I'm going to use that as the detail in the fault line section. But you can obviously use anything. If you look online, you'll see a ton of different ideas. Heather, what are you going to use?
I've got some fruit cubes.
Hooray.
So these are little jelly fruit cubes, which are amazing.
So using something like a rose. I don't know if you've seen it, but the rose, the front of the rose is on the side of the cake. Then you need to have a smaller cake, or you need to carve away some of the cake, because the rose itself is quite big and you can't cut it in half because then it would just fall apart. Then you would need to make a gap for that rose. If you're using anything that's flattish, like a stencil or a slice of fruit or sprinkle, then you don't need to worry with that. It's just if you're doing something that's really deep. I don't know, I've seen macaroons and whatever, all of those things, you need to make a space to stick it in. Okay, does that make sense? So but we're just going to carry on as is. Okay. So I'm just going to fill the cake and then stick the other cake on top, and then I'm going to put a thin layer where I'm going to make my decorations, and then we'll do the sort of final bit. So, I mean, you can trim it if you want. I don't know, how flat is your cake, Heather?
It's pretty flat. I did flatten it earlier this morning.
Okay. I'm just going to actually, let me just cut a little bit so you can see. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off just to flatten it out. This cake is reasonably flat, so I'm not too worried about it. There's crumbs. And so I'm using up all my leftovers today. In fact, I have been using up all my leftovers for all these Zoom classes. So in my freezer, I had a ton of this kind of pink and purple icing. So I mixed it all together to make this purple. And then I took a little bit of it and I made it into this dark blue color. So the dark blue color is going to be what's inside the fault line, and then the rest is going to be purple. It's quite a shocking color, though.
Julie,
so
Julie, are you using buttercream frosting or it's just whipping cream?
It is buttercream, but you could use anything. I'm not sure you could use whipped cream. I think whipped cream might be too soft
Flowy.
for this.
Yes, yes.
But you could use ganache, you could use butter icing, you could use...
Okay. So it works well. It works well with ganache as well.
Yes. So the ganache just needs to be at the stage where you can spread it.
All right.
You'll see now when we spread it out. So that's why I'm not using ganache. I actually like to work with ganache for when I have orders and things because it tastes better, I think.
Okay.
But it also needs to be kept, so if it gets too cold, then you can't spread it. Then you got to warm it up again. And then, so for a class, then I'm constantly running into the microwave. But just as long as you can spread it out, it will be perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to actually put this into a piping bag, just because I'm going to need the piping bag later. So I'm going to just do it now so that it's easier to spread. So I've got one of these disposable bags, but you can use any kind of bag. I'm just turning it down. I don't know. It's easy to see, just so that you can put your hand inside there, like that, and fill it up like that. Okay, and I'm using my sort of the color that I have the most of, which is the purple. I'm going to fill with the purple, and I'm going to do the top and the outside of the fault line, not the bit that's peeping out with purple, because I have so much of it. A lot of purple. And whoever orders anything purple, I don't know how I ended up with so much purple. Anyway, I've made some purple meringues to go with my whole purple people eater vibe that I'm doing here. Okay. Zoom close up with my hand. Right, I don't have a nozzle in here, so I'm just going to cut a hole. I just want it to be able to come out. It doesn't have to come out in any special shape. Okay. And I'm sure I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. These little things, these little pieces of plastic that come off things, please make sure you put them in the bin so they don't end up getting accidentally into your icing or into your cake or whatever, because that will definitely lead to complaints. Right, okay, so there's my cake. Okay, I'm just going to pipe it on. Obviously, you can just spread it on. I just want to do a different way today, so just pipe it onto the middle there. Okay, I'm just going to spread it around a bit. Wow, this is really purple. Okay, just a bit of filling. If you wanted to have more filling, you could cut these layers in half. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. I think the filling is quite sweet. I wouldn't put much more than that. I think that's fine. Okay. Now I'm going to put the dark blue on the side here where I'm going to make the detail that's going to be visible through the fault line. Okay. Just keep my purple separate. Okay. So I don't actually have another piping bag here, but I'm just going to spread this one on. And I'm going to put it on the turntable, but if you don't have a turntable, don't worry. It's not one of those things. Wait, that changes the whole angle. What's going on here? Sorry, hang on. There we go. Looks a bit skew. Let's push it down a bit. Okay. So I'm just going to spread it on to the sides. You don't have to do the whole sides. It's really only the part that's going to be visible, but I'm just going to spread it around. And I don't want any crumbs or anything, so I'm just scraping off into a separate bowl. Okay, now, if you were sticking your gummies on, once you spread this on, you would stick those gummies on while it's still nice and soft. So the same with sprinkles or something like that. You want to get those on while this icing is still soft and tacky, that it can stick nicely. And we're aiming to have quite a nice smooth appearance here. I'm going to use my stencil on this. So I want it to be quite smooth so that I can paint over my stencil. Okay. I think that's probably enough actually. I might just go over it again. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Here we go. Now I'm going to have leftover dark blue. It's all going to be black. Although that's quite the trend, isn't it? Black on black. The black drip on the black butter ice. It's quite a popular trend at the moment. Right. Still looks a bit skew. Okay. And if you have one of these things, you can use it. So this one is a plastic one. This one is a metal one. They're just kind of scrapers. This one came from the hardware store. This one came from the cake store. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use it to scrape the sides to make sure that they're flat and to remove any excess icing. There we go. Okay, I'm going to use the stencil, but before I can use the stencil, this just needs to set a bit for me to be able to stick onto it without, or put the stencil on without it sticking on. If you're stenciling onto butter ice, you've got a few options. You can either pin this on and then smear over with a different color. What I'm going to do though is something else. Oopsie. I'm going to use some gold. So I've got, this is just a little sponge, but you could do it with a brush as well. It's not a brush, it's my brush. I'm actually not sure which is going to work best because I haven't quite done it like this before, but I'm just going to see how I get the effect I want. And I've got some gold dust here. And I'm adding this, so this is quick paint, marker quick paint. You could just use vodka or any spirits. I think even lemon juice might work. I haven't actually done it with lemon juice, so I don't know that. But I just want to make a little gold paint. And what I'm hoping to achieve here is a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a vintage look where it's not completely evenly stenciled, but kind of roughly stenciled. I'm going to see how it looks. As I say, I've got a few different stencils. If you're stenciling onto fondant, you would need to have royal icing probably, and then you would smear it on over the top and then peel the stencil away. And the easiest then definitely would be to pin it into place with pins so that it's stuck tightly on there, because wherever the stencil lifts away, you get a bit of like bleeding of color. So it needs to be quite firmly stuck on there. But butter icing, because it's a bit soft, let's see, just waiting for it to crust. Sorry about the delay here. I don't want to mess up my underneath. So you can buy any kind of stencil for this. They sell them at the hardware store, they sell them at cake stores, online cake stores. These ones, so I have a friend who has a machine that cuts them, so she cut them specifically for me. But obviously, if you look here, so it's on like a transparency sheet, there's a bit of a gap there. So if you wanted to sit firmly on, you would need to trim that off. I don't know if I'm going to use this one. I think I'm going to use this one. I'm feeling more like this kind of guy. Or maybe both, who knows? Could go either way. Then just to show you what I made for the top, because you've got to have some kind of decoration. I made these little meringues. The recipe for these meringues is on my website. I'll send you the link. They're just normal meringues. So I think, you know, I'm thinking this goes quite nicely with that whole vibe. But obviously you don't have to put that on top. You can just pipe or something. Put your sprinkles, put your gummies. How's it going there, Heather?
Getting along. It's just been so long since I've spread buttercream on a cake.
It looks good from here. I can't see it that well, but it looks great from here. Okay, so I'm just oh, okay, there we go. So what I'm waiting for, I don't know, is for this to reach the stage where it's oh, okay, it's not there. It's just formed a kind of a crust that I can touch it without it all coming away. So I'm just, if I had the fridge closer, I would have put it in the fridge, which would hurry it along. And then just to talk you through, so once we've made whatever the decoration is here, then we're going to use the piping bag to pipe the sides and the top. And it's quite a thick layer of butter icing. Again, that's another reason to make this layer thin, because the end result is quite a bit of butter icing. And I'm going to pipe it around the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to scrape over it to hopefully get a rough fault line effect. But when you scrape over it, it pushes it down towards the middle. It starts to fill in that gap. So I suggest you start quite far away, perhaps even further than you think you're going to want it. So you don't end up with this tiny, tiny little fault line in the middle. You want to feature your thing that you've got there. Right, okay, come on, cake. This is kind of set in parts. Okay, so this is quite a thin part here. I'm going to try it. I'm just going to go for it because you don't want to sit here staring at me faffing around. Okay, let's see if it will work. Right, so I'm going to try, this is just with my little spongy. Let's see. And one of the things I love about butter, I think it's so forgiving. If you make a mess or you don't like it, you just scrape it off and go over it again. it look like? Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Let's see if I can join my pattern up here. Okay. I was just going to do sections, but I actually think I'm going to do the whole thing. I don't know. Most of the cake stencils you get, including this one, hopefully, the way the pattern is created, it's continuous. So you can just join on to the next section and it should come out as if it's one long strip. Obviously, always the problem with stencils like that is that you're going to reach a point on the back of the cake where it might not join together. So usually in that section, I would put some kind of detail. In this case, I might use that section to stick some of my meringues on or something, just to cover up that join. Or you can put it at the back. I'm always scared to have a back on my cake, because if you have a very obvious side, which is the back, and you know, it's fine if you're just taking a photo, but if we actually like going to a party or something and the back is very obvious, then people will, you know, be able to see that. So I think in a way you almost want that join to be at the front. And when I come to adding decorations on all my cakes, I always start with the ugliest place. So the place where the worst problems are, I use my decorations to hide those if I can. And I mean, to be honest, every cake has some problems. If you think you can't hide it with your decorations, then you need to do a do-over. But if you can hide it, then great. Okay, oh, that's looking awesome. Okay, so now let's see how well we join. Okay, so there's that part of the pattern. It actually joins almost perfectly, not quite. And again, you could brush this on. Let me see if I can do it with the brush. The brush gives it a slightly more, yeah, the brush pushes into the butter icing. The little spongy works better. Damn it, I have to mix more gold now. And there are so many fabulous ideas. Somebody just sent me a picture they did yesterday with a Ferrari theme. So she'd put like a checkered flag inside the fault line bit, and then outside she had yellow and red or whatever the Ferrari colors are, and then she'd like use the Ferrari logo. It was awesome. So, and I've seen some with like animals peeping out. I think it's a great, I don't know, I love it. I think they're so cute. You can do so many things with them. I do have a Pinterest board full of ideas. But if you just search anywhere on the internet, you'll find a million ideas. Okay, so like here, I don't know, just zoom it in. I damaged the icing a bit with the, I might have been actually my finger, with the stencil and there. So I'm going to just leave them. I will try to cover it up with the decorations. It's also the place where the join is, actually, to be honest. So you can see my pattern doesn't quite match up, but it's not too bad. And actually, it's not really that obvious that there's a mismatch there. I'm just going to leave it like that. I think that is great. So this was the side that was thinnest, and it's the driest. And you can see it has, the pattern is the best maintained there. Kind of looks like some kind of weird Egyptian thing. I don't know where we're going with this. How are you going, Heather? Can I go to the next stage? Are you on your gummies?
Yes. I've done my gummies.
Done your gummies. Okay, great. Perfect. Yeah. Right, so I'm just going to do something on the top. I just want to put some icing on the top. I'm not really going crazy with the design yet. Okay. Sorry, that's the train. We live next to the train line. That's the train. Making a big noise in the background there. Okay, so I'm just smoothing that out. Just for the top. I'm going to use my decorations, my little meringues and things on the top. But I mean, it could be flowers, it could be piping, it could be sprinkles, it could be anything. I just want a flattish top with hopefully not too many crumbs. Yep. Okay. And now I'm going to pipe onto the sides. Okay. And this, you can do it over, but you might end up having to redo your design. So try not to mess it up if you can. I know that sounds very scary, but here it is, okay. So just pipe around the bottom. And you can see I've piped quite a thick layer because I'm going to scrape away some. And you don't have to just go straight, so you can make it sort of wonky and wavy. That's also good. That gives it a nice kind of texture. Okay. Something like that. And then the same again at the top here. And remember that it's going to spread towards the center. So don't go too far. We can always add to it, but it's very difficult to get it away from the center here. Right, then I'm going to scrape with my nice big scraper. So when you do any scraping, you want to make sure that your scraper is vertical. Wow, okay, vertical, so nice and straight. This little one has, it's only a small little section that is flat, so you want to make sure that's flat on the board. This is maybe a bit easier because it's all flat. It doesn't really matter, just make sure you've got it straight. You don't want to scrape inwards or outwards because then your sides won't look flat. Okay, okay, let's do it. And we don't really want to see any cake. So at the bottom, just make sure it's going all the way to the bottom. Okay, so you can see the effect starting to happen. Bit of this icing here. Where's my cloth gone? And I find it much better if I have a nice clean scraper before I scrape anything. I just clean it off in between. I like this kind of effect where it's quite rough actually. So that I'm going to leave. Like here for me it's quite fat. I don't know, I feel like it could be a bit flatter. So I'm going to go over it again. Also, I don't know how well you can see these, are quite small, but there are little air bubbles in my icing. So yesterday I took all the leftover bits, the pink and the blue and the purple and everything that I had, and I whipped it up quite hectically because, you know, I wanted to revitalize it. It was all from our freezer. So when you whip it a lot, you get these little air bubbles, but that's fine. It's quite normal for butter icing, I think. You just want to go over it to smooth them and push them out. So I'm basically just smoothing and pushing and smoothing and pushing. Actually, want to get, hang on, and get the camera there so you can see how it looks where the actual scraping is happening. And I'm using this turntable, but every time I stop, you get these little straight marks from it kind of jerking to a stop. So on my very last one, I will try, once I'm basically happy with it and I'm just doing my last round, I'll try not to stop, trying to get it as smooth as possible. When you end, there's always a bit of this. So we might just go over that again. But okay, and I don't know how well you can see this. I've scraped away quite a lot really, and you can see it's gradually moving towards the middle, which is what we want. I don't know, I'm quite pleased with the way it's looking. I don't know, how are you going there, Heather? I'm not even looking at you. Are you scraping?
Not yet scraping. I'm still figuring out
Okay.
typing.
Oh, you're perfect.
But
Okay,
you can keep going. I'll watch.
I don't know. I feel like I'm almost done here, and I feel like we've only just started this class. What time is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. We'll do some piping or something on the top. How about that? Oh dear. So what I'm doing in between here is I'm just cleaning the board because I don't want icing on the board. You want to have a nice, attractive board. But I accidentally stuck my cloth in it now, so I'm just yeah, I think it's looking awesome. Okay, so here you can see I'm getting quite close to the bone. There's almost no protrusion anymore, so I probably need to either add more icing or stop scraping. I'm generally quite happy with the way it's looking. I don't see any major problems with it. So I'm going to just stop scraping so I don't overdo it. Okay. Then I'm going to sort out the top here. So let me just take it off the turntable so it's lower and you can see what's happening. So you can see it's kind of peeping over the top. I actually quite like the way this looks, but I don't think that's what people want. I don't know, I quite like that slightly rough look, but let's, I don't know, let me just show you how to resolve it. So this is what you want. If it's peeping over like this, then it's very easy to make it nice and square. You just go inwards from the side. And you get quite a clean effect. You can also use a warm knife or a wet knife if you want to get it even smoother than that. I feel like if I just put this in the fridge and then went over it again, it would be completely flat. I'm just going to leave it for now. And then this sort of last part of this section, I would say, is to put, where's my gold? Is to paint the edge of this. So just here, I'm going to paint that part, just to highlight the edge and obviously to go with my whole gold Egyptian, whatever we're doing. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. This is what happens when you use all your leftovers. You end up with the weirdest designs. But in terms of the skills, it doesn't actually really matter what designs you have. Okay. I'm just using a slightly smaller brush. This one's a bit wild. So I just want to highlight that edge there. Put it back on my turntable again. And again, obviously the turntable makes it so easy because you can just turn it and you don't have to like manually do it. But it's just a question of ease. It's not, I don't think it's a necessity. It does make the scraping a lot easier. And somebody in one of the other ones, I'm not sure if either of you, I know you guys have attended a few, was saying that she saw them at the Chinese shop for quite cheap, the turntables, because they can be quite expensive. Probably is worthwhile to shop around for those sort of things. But one of the other reasons I'm golding this is because the two colors I have aren't that distinct from each other. They're not, the blue and the purple are quite close. Whereas I think if you had something that was similar, or sorry, very different in color, you wouldn't need to highlight this edge quite so much. And it is a bit time consuming to paint this edge. I thought it was going to be like Art Deco, but it's not. It just looks like some kind of Egyptian princess situation. Overthinkers are us. I'm going to do the top edge as well. That's a little bit more challenging because I just see in there. And again, I wouldn't get too worried. So I'm kind of just highlighting it. It's meant to be quite a rough thing. I wouldn't spend hours making it a perfectly straight line or anything like that. I don't think that's what this kind of cake is about. And so if you go a bit over or under or, you know, out of the lines, I think it's fine. And to be honest, so I know that this is the patch. No, there's the patch with the fingerprint. There it is. It's almost really hardly visible at this stage. I know it's there, but I'm not sure anybody else would really see it or be aware of it. And also this painting, so my butter icing is still quite soft because I've just put it on. If I was making an order, I would put it in the fridge and leave it to firm up. Painting it onto a firm thing is always easier because you don't have to, you know, worry about squashing it. So, sorry to pick on you, Heather. Try using your scraper sideways. I don't know if it's tall enough.
Yeah, it isn't really.
It's not really quite tall enough. I'm just thinking maybe that will give you a bit of a straighter side.
Yeah.
Or even just with a knife. Do you have a long knife?
That might work.
Yeah, that might work. There you go.
These bits
Your
of
gum is
fruit
coming out.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Everything is
Oh,
wide. You do have run the risk of them popping off while you are trying to do this. And you don't necessarily, like, you could put more icing on there, but how thick can you make it before it gets a bit kind of gross, I think, you know?
Yeah. And I think my icing is a bit soft,
Soft.
but it's okay. I don't worry about perfection. I'm just going to eat this cake myself.
Again, if your icing is a bit soft, firm it up in the fridge, or you can obviously add more icing sugar. At some point, it becomes quite grainy if you add too much icing sugar. I find it better or easier to firm in the fridge or firm in the, you know, whether you're firming the icing or the cake, just get it, you know, rather than adjusting the consistency with water and icing sugar and everything. I'm just going to quickly go and find a piping nozzle so that we can pipe something on the top here. I'll be back in 1 second. Just hang tight there. Sorry, did I accidentally cut us off there?
No.
Get a better angle here. Yep. Right. Okay. I'll get this one out. No, that's not working at all. There's the train again. Oh, and I wanted to get some sprinkles. Hold on, sorry. I'm a person with an indecisive mind today.
Julie, I can't hear you.
now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Sorry about that. Let me
No
just,
worries.
yeah, it's whenever I leave the room. Sorry, then let me just repeat what I was saying. So
Yeah.
this is a closed jar, and
All right.
you can obviously choose the piping style you like.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to add some sprinkles. So this is like a colored sugar crystal. It's also purple.
Okay.
I've got, what else have I got in here? Do you want me to go over the piping? Was that the part that? No idea. Okay. Those guys, I've got nothing else that looks really purpley or gold. I've got these guys here. They're actually green, which is not really the color I want today. But what I'm going to try is to make them into some little gold balls. I just need to find something to put them in. Sorry, I'm just looking for a container. This was not a plan. This was not the original plan. Right. So I've got just some green ones, and I'm going to turn them gold, hopefully, by just putting some gold dust in there.
Okay.
Let's see if it will stick, hopefully so. And then I'm just going to shake them around. Could be golder. They are going gold.
Yeah, it's turning.
I'm going to put paint in to see if it will make it stick a bit better. Dust. There we go. How cute are those? Okay. So you can always kind of improvise and make a plan, you know, don't you just use what you've got kind of thing. I just don't want to touch them now. I'm going to gold on mix up their finish.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You could use a few tweezers, a pair of tweezers if you had one. I do, but I don't have them here, of course. This is like the story of my life. I don't want to that green peeping out. Here we go. Okay, I'm feeling much happier with my whole Egyptian theme here. Okay, something along this line. There it is. Some little colorful glittery sprinkles. Okay, they're just going everywhere. And then you can finish off with your meringues or flowers or whatever you have. You know, it's not the be all and end all. Just whatever you've got. And again, so I made these pink and purple thinking it was going to be more like a, I don't know, I thought it was going to come out more like a mermaid vibe, but it's really not. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dust these guys with a bit of gold too. When in doubt, add more gold, apparently. That's the theme for the day. So I'm going to do something else here. I'm just going to splatter them. And just be careful with this kind of thing. You don't want to use any water that will make your meringue melt. which is why the quick dry is great. Okay, there we go. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So you can't actually see what I'm doing here. So I want to give it a bit of height, oopsie, which is why I'm sticking them upright like that.
Wow. Wow, it's lovely.
But you could do them however you like. Small one. One little guy here. And I like this idea of it going down the side. I didn't plan very well here because now I don't know where that weird finger mark is. Oh, there it is. But I'm just going to use these small little ones that I have, which now I don't have gold on them. Hang on. Here's my gold. So when I did this, I made a few big ones and a few small ones because then you've always got options. You know, you might not use every single thing you make, but it's always nice to have options. And meringues and macaroons are great for this because they're quite light, so they stick on quite easily. The last one. I don't know. And then maybe a last few gold balls to just bring it all together. There we go. How are you going, Heather?
Nearly done. I've gone slightly Halloween-y.
I like it. I was actually just thinking about Halloween, and I don't know, I think of doing a Halloween class for the end of October. I haven't chosen a theme. Maybe this is a good way to go. Here we go. I'm going to call that done. Oh, ta-da! I love it.
And that's
Stunning. Well done. Yay.
definitely looks more Halloween, and it's quite rough around the edges. But I thought once I couldn't get those edges smooth, I was just like, go with the rough.
I think your icing's a bit soft, and I think having a scraper that can scrape straight would be helpful.
Yes. And not buying the wrong scraper.
Awesome. We could use the other side of it.
Yeah, I could give that.
Like that, yeah.
Except I keep hitting these gummies.
Maybe just leave your gummies.
Yeah. I'll leave it rough.
I like it. Okay, so there's my guy. There he is. All his Egyptian glory.
It's wonderful.
Does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
Dead silence. Awesome. I'm trying to think if I've got anything else I need to tell you. I guess all I really want to say is that I love this technique because I find it quite versatile and quite forgiving, and you can do lots of things. You can use it in any theme, you know.
Yeah, and it looks amazing.
There you go. And always just keep your boards clean. When it's not that clean, just makes it slightly more professional. Cool. What time is it now? Oh, it's still quite early. I could do more things. What should I do? What can I make? Gee, well, I just want to go over again. Let me just look at something to pass on to. So I think maybe the sound was not working when I was talking about the piping. Let me just go over that again quickly. So I put the star nozzle in here, and you've got lots of options. I actually love to pipe. So this one, I just grabbed the one that I had used for the meringues. It's just this closed star. But there's lots of different types of star nozzles. In fact, there's nozzles that do all kinds of things. But really, all the stars, they look slightly different from each other, but they all amount to the same techniques. So let me just show you a few different options for piping these different things. Okay,
Yes.
so the first one, straight down. Actually, and I don't know if you can see this, but I'm using my other hand, this hand, to hold this arm. And the reason for that is if you're piping onto a cake, especially a tall cake or something, you don't want your arm flapping around in the air. You need it to be a little bit stabilized. So that's why I do that. And it's the same here. So if you just go straight down and then stop squeezing, that's called a star. I mean, this one's not that starry, it's more flowery, but you get the idea. If you do from the outside to the inside, looks like that. It's called a rosette. If you do from the inside to the outside, it's called a rosette, but it just gives a slightly different look, wider and flatter. So if it was a cupcake, for instance, you could do a whole bunch of these next to each other to cover the cupcake. You could do that. That's like a classic cupcake swirl. This one's a bit small. Or you could do it this one. I sometimes see whole cakes covered with these rosettes, where they put them up next to each other like that, and they cover the whole cake. I'm sure you've seen those, which is quite pretty. In terms of borders, I'm running out of icing. Let me just find some more icing. So this thing that I did is called twisted rope. I don't know if you guys heard that then after all of that. So I'm just looking for some more icing. The bag's quite empty. Oopsie. Whenever you refill your bags, there will always be an air bubble. I mean, you can obviously see this big amount of air in here. So what I do is squeeze over the bowl until you hear that sort of puff of air, so that you don't end up having that puff messing up your effect when you're actually busy piping whatever it is. Okay, so in terms of borders, your choices are the twisted rope, which is basically just round and round and round like this. Obviously, with such a big nozzle, it's quite a lot of icing. It's quite chunky. I would avoid doing that too much on your cakes. I don't think anyone eats that much icing, but that is what I use there. You can do one which is called shell border. So you squeeze and pull away to make it supposed to look like a shell. It does sort of. Then start your next one where the messy part is. Squeeze, pull away, squeeze, pull away. Okay, I'm sure you've seen those on, like, I don't know, it's on every cake from here to wherever. Another one that is also quite popular is called alternating shell. So instead of going up and down with your shell, you go to the side and then this is one of those left brain, right brain things I can never do. You're supposed to go in alternating directions. Mine went the same way. Let's try that again. So that way, sorry, and then that way, and then that way. But you could also do this. That's also fine. I'm running out of space a bit here. It's quite sweet. I don't know, like a little shell that goes to the side. And this alternating one, if you just did it together, can you see this part here? You can do like a little fleur-de-lis. So you do one, and then a central one to make like a fleur-de-lis. This is very chunky. I don't know, I'm not loving this bottom section here. You want it to kind of come to a point more. Yep. If you can see that. I wouldn't really do these effects that much with butter icing. It leads to a lot of icing. It can be a bit overwhelmingly sweet, I think. So I'd keep it maybe just to the top or just to the bottom edge or something like that. What else can I do with this? You can also make like a little kind of Christmas tree thing where you just squeeze, the air bubble, and then sort of pulse it. And hold it to the side of that. Take a little, I don't know, thing. Do them in green, they make little Christmas trees. Put a few sprinkles on it for decorations. I can't think of any more. I think I've got all the main ones here. By far the easiest is this twisted rope, which is why I chose to do it there, because it doesn't require much skill. You just go round and round and round. These ones, you have to vary the pressure. So you start off squeezing and then you stop squeezing when you pull away. That takes a little bit more practice. Yeah, that's my story. I don't know. I don't actually have anything more to say about piping. I mean, I have a lot to say about piping, what I'm saying. Any other questions? Does that resolve the piping questions? Because I think that sound was off there when I was busy doing my band. Cool. Okay, what time is it? Oh my word. Oh, still early. I could still do my piping. I don't know. Did I have my oats this morning? Have I gone really quickly? Just in terms of classes, sorry. Heather, I think you're doing the succulents with me just now. Is that right?
Yes.
So let me tell you what I've got coming up. So I've got lots of sugar flowers coming up. Succulents just now. Next week I've got sweet peas and leaves and more filler flowers. The 26th I've got peonies and unwired flowers. So these are specifically daisy, frangipani, sunflower, and anemone. And then the following month, I've got a few weeks where I don't have any Zoom classes, but towards the end of October, I'm doing royal icing, different royal icing things. I'm interested in learning, so that will be piping a go-go. And then after that, and maybe something Halloween. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a false fine. I don't know what it's going to be. Any questions?
No questions.
Not really.
I don't know. Yeah. In which case, I don't really have much more to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Julie.
Cool. I'll
Thanks.
send you guys links to the video and everything. And Heather, I'll see you just now.
Yes.
I'm just going to clean up here and sort myself out.
Yeah.
Get some more coffee.
Thank you, Julie.
Cool. Have a wonderful day.